Okay, welcome to today's episode. I am grateful for your presence and thanks for tuning in as we continue exploring the importance and the power of systems and processes in your business and in mine. And in fact, what I want to share today is that I have a reasonably well dialed in system for taking this Facebook Live or your Facebook Live if you do one and turning it into multiple assets. Now, this is actually explained in this book here. Here it is. Traffic Secrets. Excellent book. Go get it if you haven't got it already. Traffic Secrets. Now, Russell speaks of going through and doing 1 hour a week where he creates a 1 hour marketing discussion. They talk about various things. And then from that 1 hour video, it then goes out to their team and they produce a bunch of stuff. They produce quote cards and they produce a podcast and they produce Instagram videos. Now, if you have tried this, well, perhaps you didn't know about it. If you don't know about it, get the book. If you do know about it and you've tried it, then you might have found that this is pretty daunting. This is actually considerably more difficult than it sounds. The first problem that I ran into was that just the daily nature of these Facebook videos means that there's this backlog of work. And so the first pivot was to actually make them 7 days. Let's extract out all 7 at once and work on them, take away the urgency of having to do them today and then produce for tomorrow. And that worked really well. And from that, I ended up with 3 different systems. So one is the systems is to extract out the Facebook Lives and create the production boards, like create the data boards that run the production, that turn it into the quote cards, turn it into the podcast, turn it into the YouTube video. The second one was the actual work of that, like how do you actually take this video and turn it into each of those things. And then the third one was the tracking of this. And I went through and I was extracting this to share with my clients. I was like, oh, this is an important one. This makes a big difference. So let's get this up. And as I went through, one of them stuck out. And that was that last one, that tracking board, because I want to bring it across and show it to you. Let me switch over the camera here and we'll see whether we can see it. So here you go. You can actually see here that in this one, we've got an odd process. And that is that both of the processes essentially are run by other systems. I was like, what? Okay, that's a bit odd. That struck me as unusual. Everything else that I have systemized actually has processes that do things. They don't have systems that do things. And I was in the shower this morning. I was like, maybe this whole thing is superfluous and that there might be a cleaner way of tracking this, either just by having it as part of the first board, like that the links to each of the 7 days is held on that board itself, or it's just in the folders. And as they get done, they get archived. And this, I was like, okay, cool. This is pretty cool. This simplifies. This reduces the number of systems. Instead of 3 systems, we're down to 2. And this might sound like, why is this important? Well, I want to invite you to consider that this process is very similar to 2 other processes that are critical in your business. Number 1 is your lead management. As a lead comes in and the process that they go through to become a sale or become a customer, that is extremely similar to this exact process. You've got a lot of things coming through that have to be tracked, and each one of those is likely to have too much detail to be held on a big board, like an overview board. It's going to have its own detailed board. Secondly, the next place is when those people buy and they become customers, then there will be an experience of fulfillment as well. And so once again, that customer will likely have a lot of steps that have to be done. And so across advertising, across sales, and across fulfillment, you have the same problem. So I was excited for this. If I can reduce the number of systems from 3 to 2, so there's a tracking board that creates everything, and then there's the actual board that produces the assets. This is exactly the same as the one for sales and the one for customer, other than one difference, and that is that the Facebook production is daily versus the sales and the fulfillment ones are on demand. But the overall problem is the same. So this actually gets me down from potentially 9 systems down to 6. So simpler is better. Now, could it be simpler? No. The whole problem of this was that when I tried to not have a system at all and just like have the one board for one day, it was too hard to keep track of, particularly once we made that change to extract out all of the Facebook Lives on a weekly basis instead of on a daily basis. Once that happened, there was a dedicated system that was definitely required to manage that work. That's the overview board, and then each of the days is their own low-level production board. How does this apply to you? Well, what I would like you to consider is to look at these 3 conveyor belts in your business. Like, what first of all, are they working? Like, do you have a consistent marketing or advertising conveyor belt? Do you show up each day? Or do you just like run out of leads and then panic and go, oh my goodness, I better go do some Facebook Lives. I better go jump on Instagram. I better go and call up people. Is that your strategy, or are you consistent? Next up, how's that looking in your sales? Like when a lead comes in, how's that being tracked? How's that being managed? Are you missing steps? Is everything done? Do you know that certain things are required in order to increase your sales conversion? And if they happen, then your sales conversion is good. If they don't, then your sales conversion is down. How are you going to make sure that those get done? What's that conveyor belt look like? And then finally, when a customer comes on board and they become a customer, what does that conveyor belt look like? It's very common for entrepreneurs, maybe like yourself, to be strong in one of these 3. Perhaps you're good at 2, but it is masterful to be across all 3. And the exciting thing is that the systems that you set up for each of these is extremely similar. You get it right in one, then you can bring it across to the other 2. I'm excited for this. If this is a conversation that you're interested in, then head over to System.io, put in your name, put in your email address, grab the training on this topic. Look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's episode as we continue this journey into the power of systems and processes in scaling and making your business work for you. See you then.